Hello, my name is Dante Renee, and welcome to the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more. Like tonight's film, this is 1977's Yellow Emmanuelle. Yellow Emmanuelle, and right here on the cover, the lead, I believe her name is Chai Lee, pronounced that way. And it is directed by Bito Albertini, who is known for Black Emmanuelle. And here are some photos on the back here. And this film here is really a unique film. And I'm just so happy to heap praise on this film. Now, it's interesting that it's called, the name Emmanuelle is in the title, so you immediately link it to the Black Emmanuelle series and to also the regular Emmanuelle series, so on and so forth. But this is really set apart totally in a very unique dimension. Now, I also want to mention that the music in this film, including the title song for her character in the film, Amy, her name's not even Emmanuelle in the film, was done by my favorite, Mr. Nico Fidenko, who's known for doing the soundtracks to the Black Emmanuelle series. So very interesting that he's doing the soundtrack to the Yellow Emmanuelle film right here. So let's get into this movie here, because this is something incredibly in its own world, in its own dimension, in its own headspace, in its own genre to me, because it's mixing so many genres in this cinematic soup. I mean, this is something that is really sucker punched me and took me for a loop here. I'm not even gonna joke around. I push play, was watching the movie, thought I understood it, maybe. Then I realized I didn't understand it, and I was like, oh, I thought I knew where it was going, is what I meant. And then all of a sudden I said, wait a second, it seems to be going someplace else here. What? Wow, I was not expecting this at all. And then all of a sudden I get sucker punched like 2, 3 more times. And then the movie ends. And as a whole, I wasn't expecting any of it. Let's get into Yellow Emmanuelle from 1977. Now, this is actually, I know this is a pretty rare movie, and believe this is the only release of this, Exploitation Digital. I believe this is the only release of it. I don't know if it's still in print, but it says in the front, dishonored and abandoned, she falls into a desperate life of prostitution. Yellow Emmanuelle. This movie has airline pilots, a tour of Hong Kong, prostitutes, a love story. I'll say it again. A love story. A romance, a love story of different cultures, the old world meeting the new world, the old culture and traditions meeting the modern world. Jealousy, vengeance, broken hearts, suicidal tendencies, virginity, sexual exploration, fighting, doctors, life-threatening diseases, boat rides to this beautiful mountainous area, and these beautiful home with fans blowing, a garden of bonsai trees that have been shaped perfectly with little houses in them, night clubbing, as Iggy Pop says it, A visit to a fortune teller, strip clubs. It's all here and more in Yellow Emmanuel. Well, first, I gotta tell you that the scenery in this film is absolutely, it's dumbfounding. The scenery in here, I mean, Hollywood films, digitize everything to get the scenery that this film has for real. I mean, off mountain cliffs, the beach, the ocean, beautiful mountain ranges, on top of these ranges, walking around, eating, standing, kissing, overlooking the best scenery you could ever imagine. The scenery in this film is essentially what you would pay triple the amount for a hotel room that has windows or a deck that overlooks scenery like this. Matter of fact, most of us will never be able to afford scenery like Yellow Emmanuel, but we get to pop this DVD in and experience it ourselves. Unbelievable homes in here, and architecture, a very great hotels, great neon lit strip clubs, interesting usage of filming through things in a sexual erotic manner, filming through furniture. There's a real sense of architecture in here. There's a sense of, furniture and the lack thereof also. And it's really just, I mean, if this is a tour of Hong Kong, on land and on water and above and below, and it's really something. I have to say, is a feast for the eyes, as they say. Now, musically speaking, as I mentioned to you before, we have Nico Fidenko doing the soundtrack to this film, and I absolutely adore him. And I don't know if this soundtrack is available anywhere, but I will have to look for it. If you know his music, okay, and if you love his music, you're going to love the music in here. There is wall-to-wall music in Yellow Emmanuel, and it is, if I said it was a feast for the eyes, it's also a feast for the ears. The music in this film is so special, so awesome. We have just the tropical, exotic flavors mixed with some funky disco beats and rhythms, percussion, some interesting, almost psychedelic guitar work, interesting usage of voices, if you know Nico Fidenko's music with vocals, with kind of captivating choruses and just magical sounds in his music that kind of are like musical ecstasy. And it's all throughout this film. Just truly exotic food for your ears that never fits within any particular boundary. And Nico Fidenko's music goes beyond boundaries, and sometimes you'll hear some very bizarre electronic sounds that are just perfectly placed, and there are complex arrangements, and they're groovy all the time, and they're captivating. We even have orchestral, sorry, I couldn't say that word, orchestral arrangements in here as well. That were very interesting. They were not expected in the world of the rest of the music in this film. Orchestral arrangements kind of getting the vibes of romance and love and drama and pain and loss. There's some very interesting things going on in here, and I want to mention a few things, a few themes, I guess, that I took in Yellow Emmanuel, but we have the aspect of our lives. We have the aspect of our mortality, and I guess in a way how open we are to getting a whole range of things that if we really sat down and thought about it, I mean, it would probably paralyze us. And that's actually something else that could happen is paralysis. And with that, with the knowledge of our mortality, also bringing in loss and pain of experiencing it yourself, but also experiencing it for the ones you love as well. Which brings into another huge theme in the film, which is love. The connection between love and suffering, and the connection between love and loss, and kind of the work of romance, the work of love, and a real supportive father in this movie as well, I have to say, and great camaraderie with airline pilots in this movie. There is happiness, there's also rage, there's despair, there is kind of a romantic ecstasy, and there is confusion and worry, and as I mentioned previously, vengeance. So emotionally, there are a lot of highs and there are a lot of lows in Yellow Emmanuel. We also have some darkness in here with some fighting, some boxing, street fighting, hospital visits, rapes, just also the aspect of, you know, where somebody started and kind of the journey of them getting to where they are now and what it took them to get there, and the pain in their life, the experiences in their life, and you know, how where it took them to get there. We also, you know, in this film we get a bird's eye view into the medical world. We get a bird's eye view into you know, kind of the airline world, and we also get a bird's eye view into the prostitution world as well. So all these different aspects. At the beginning of the film, you're kind of seeing this kind of what seems to be one love story, and then as the movie goes on, you realize there's another love story, and or maybe the real love story. There's friendship in here as well, and the interesting thing about Yellow Emmanuel is probably sold with the title and with what's said on the poster, and with the poster that scene is actually in the film, by the way. It's a great outfit from Chai Lee. It's an exploitation film, it's a sexploitation film, it's an erotic film, it's a drama film, and it's definitely a romance film. It has all those things mixed together. So this really does not fit into the typical Black Emmanuelle series, or even I would say the other Emmanuelle series. This really occupies its own world because it's doing something that's really interesting. I mean, it could play, you know, in a grindhouse type theater, but then it could also play for people who are looking for, you know, a romance, and just some disturbing turns. I will say sexually, we have full nudity in here from the women in the film. And, you know, it's more than topless. You're also getting bottomless in here, full, you know, full frontal and back, and a couple angles where you're getting some vaginal hairs. You get pretty close up a couple times. So the sexuality in here is, you actually get a lot of great nudity in here. And Chai Lee, you know, it was interesting. As the movie goes on, you kind of, in a way, fall more in love with her, and you get to see all of her in this movie as well. And there are some deleted scenes on here, which I haven't really gone into too far, but I noticed that maybe things were shot just a tad bit more explicitly as well, from what I could see. If you know anything else about that, I'm also going to be looking at those just to see some deleted scenes and what else was filmed and what was cut. But it's not your typical R-rated erotic film. You know, to me, it had a little bit more, sexuality, explicit sexuality. I also want to mention here with Yellow Emmanuelle that it really seems like a love letter to Hong Kong. It's, in a way, a travelogue of Hong Kong, in the way that another film that I looked at on this YouTube page, Felicity, kind of acts as a travelogue to the locations that it is filmed in. And here we're really, in a way, taking a trip through the cities, through the rural areas of Hong Kong, and experiencing everything from food to nightlife to the real traditional historical places. And I thought it was really, really interesting. And it's also really interesting to me because a lot of times I find that a lot of erotic films from the 70s in particular tend to have travelogue vibes to them. And I mean, you even look at the film Laurie, which I looked at on this YouTube page, and that definitely has a culture, historical culture travelogue vibe to that one as well. So it's very, very interesting how this genre of film, the erotic film, sexploitation films, tend to have you not just exploring the human body, but also real locations. And the interesting thing is that you kind of think you know where the movie's going at a certain point in the film. You kind of are getting a grasp of it finally, and you think, okay, I guess I understand. You know, I've gotten this movie now. I understand where it's going, and then all of a sudden, the train goes off the tracks and off a cliff. Holy crap! This is 1977's Yellow Emmanuelle. Wow. Thank you so much for watching the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page, where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more, like Yellow Emmanuelle. Please feel free to check out my own personal films at youtube.com/poopy diarrhea. That's POOPY diarrhea. Thank you so much, and good night.